Incoming transmission from an unknown source. It seems to be urgent. Patching them through. They're calling themselves the HoloNet Marauders.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the HoloNet Marauders podcast. I'm AJ, joined here by the old Bombad batch of Jamie, Matt, and Jack.
Look at us.
The old
We're the old batch now. We're not even just the batch anymore.
At this point, we're old.
Doing this too long, man.
Yeah.
For those of you listening, Matt is wearing a hat, and he never wears hats, and it's
can you
really
believe
throwing me
this?
off. He's also in Montana right now.
Jackson Hole. Yeah, I'm coming to you live from Jackson Hole, Wyoming. I'm on vacation.
So
I saw a bald eagle today, dude.
How big is the hole?
It's huge. It's actually pretty small. This is a small town, or at least it gives off small town vibes. I think it's a lot bigger. But the touristy area is like, it's basically like an Old West downtown where there's like a central area where the cows graze, and then there's like 4 streets, and they're all just like saloons, gift shops. It's like Jesus.
So nothing too far from like Valentine or like, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Very strawberry.
No, very strawberry. I haven't spotted Joel or Ellie or anybody running around though, because that's where they go in Last of Us. They go to Jackson, Wyoming.
Jumping video games here.
Yeah, I'm like, you totally jumped up us there.
Jackson works real hard in that hole, and I'm glad you get to enjoy.
Have you played any 5-Finger Fillet with any old guys or anything?
Not yet. No.
You should. Maybe some poker.
Yeah.
Get yourself a sarsaparilla.
Oh, yeah. You know what? They literally there's a place called Jackson Drug Company, and it's like a restaurant, like old timey, like thing. I want
like a soda fountain and whatnot.
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting.
I think I want to check that out before we leave.
So, before we get too derailed, as we already did, Matt's coming to you live from the past because this is an episode that we recorded right after Ahsoka 4 and 5, but it's coming at you. I mean, if you're listening to it right now, hello, it's here. This is coming at you after the strike. We held on to this episode until after the SAG and WGA strikes were going on. So we talked amongst ourselves, and then we're sharing it with you now. Only because a fair deal has been reached. And so, yeah.
Yep.
That's that first.
So,
yeah.
We're going to continue our Ahsoka coverage so far. We'll be talking about 2 episodes in this one. Episode 4, Fallen Jedi, and Episode 5, Shadow Warrior. So we're going to start with Episode 4, Fallen Jedi.
I love the names of these episodes.
I know.
Oh, they're great.
This was a good one. These 2 episodes were great. I don't know what was it, like Time to Fly or something like that? What was the second episode
3,
called?
yeah, it was Time to Fly.
Or Time to Fly was 3. I was like, what the hell is that?
But this episode
during episode 3 at one point, so like 4 and 5 were much better in that regard. Like, I'm not trying to trash it. It was just like I just was not all there. It was like it was in the middle of the Disney trip. I was quite tired, but like I just remember Purrgil, and then they were on the ground, and I'm like, how did they get there?
awesome space battle in that episode.
That was the Jason Syndulla episode too. So I was wired.
I was on the moon.
But then we got like the best Jason Syndulla moments in these 2 episodes, or at least this episode or 5.
So we're not gonna jump to 5 yet. We're gonna talk fully about 4.
Fully about 4. We can
because we haven't covered it yet. Fallen Jedi, directed by Peter Ramsey. Been trying to say that for the last 2 minutes that it was directed by Peter Ramsey.
Wow.
Very talented. And he directed an episode in season 3 of Mando, right? He did. I don't remember what episode he did. Oh, he did the episode with Keller and Beck, or do I remember that wrong? When he saves Grogu.
This is something we should have looked up before we jumped on.
Well, he's most known for Into the Spider-Verse, so
yeah.
He did Into the Spider-Verse.
Yep, both of them.
There you go.
So he's had a big year, very big year. So I thought this episode was, including episode 5, which we'll get to, this was my favorite episode so far. I think I really loved the samurai film vibe of it, the spookiness of the forest they were landed in. It looked awesome, but you could tell it was the volume. Like, we're not talking about it wasn't Andor here, where it's beautiful. It's beautiful in its own way.
Yeah, they couldn't film on Cetos, unfortunately. You need a lot of permits.
Hey, they could have found a woods in Salem or something in the
fall.
Yeah,
they could have filmed in Salem, guys. What are you doing? We got spooky witch woods.
I don't know why I say Salem. It could just be like anywhere.
No, it's got to be spooky witch woods. So it's got to be Salem.
But this was something I've liked, and it's with the Kiners music. This whole show has been very
Yes.
eerie and spooky.
Dude.
Because we know Thrawn is out there. Thrawn himself is pretty spooky and intimidating. And the music, like back to the first episode, we had the opening crawl. I listened to that. I watched that crawl and I listened to that. It's the red font and the spooky music.
The soundtrack
Better than
comes
that.
out Friday, and that is literally
wait.
like the music I associate with
Oh.
this like show is that song. Like I
Yeah,
think of that
same.
song all the time. That I literally watched before I left for vacation. I watched the opening of Ahsoka at least like twice a week for the past 4 weeks.
Just the crawl or like the whole opening?
Just like the whole opening until he frees Morgan, and then he's like Ahsoka
Okay.
Tano, and then
Gotcha.
they cut, and it's like yes, perfect, awesome.
So scroll back as well. Peter Ramsey directed in season 3 of Mandalorian, the pirate episode.
Okay. Even better.
So-
That episode was even better.
Okay.
Yeah, the episode that was at least 3/4 of
He does
us.
a lot of action.
One of our favorite ones.
The Gorian
Yeah.
Shard.
The Gorian
episode.
Shard episode.
So you know I have a soft spot for that.
But back to this episode in Ahsoka, Fallen Jedi. Yeah, my big thing with this was just the samurai vibe of it. The duels we got, I think we got 3 duels,
Yeah, we
3
got
or 3.5 maybe. I don't know.
well, we
But
got Sabine versus Shin, then Ahsoka versus Marok. Good,
And-
which was awesome.
Oh yeah.
good speculation, guys. Great job on the.
He was a bag of
speculation.
farts.
He was a bag of farts, dude.
Who could have
Honestly,
guessed?
We've created a character who is like a bag of farts. So now Filoni is in our court. He's matching our levels of
right.
character creation now.
He's on our level.
And then we had Ahsoka versus Balin, which was like
He
the
just gets
final.
us. Hold on. You're forgetting the best fight of it all. Hu Yang versus
yeah,
freaking
Hu Yang
HKs.
versus robots,
Rock'em
yeah.
sock'em
He was throwing
robots.
down. That
He
was
held
sick.
his own.
He was popping off. He was ready to go.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
HKs are no pushovers, so that was pretty impressive. It's like, oh, I mean, he does train younglings, so
And like he
Yeah,
does have like
makes
the arm up on everyone because he has the extra set of arms, right? So like
Arms up.
yeah, those little
Arms
punchy
up.
arms are great.
it's good.
Yeah, Hu Yang is amazing.
Hu Yang has like shot up to like the top of my favorite characters list because of
Well,
the show. He's been so
Matt,
good.
coming into this show, I know we talked about it a few episodes ago, but you were like, "Oh, I never really liked Hu Yang that much." I know he wasn't in much, but he seems like a droid that would be your favorite droid. He's the Jedi droid.
There were a couple of reasons. One, back in the day, I wasn't like a huge fan of the whole like the Jedi have been around for 25,000 years. The Republic has been around for 25,000 years. I wasn't really a fan of like that
mean, like, a year ago?
extremely long time scale. Yeah, a year ago. Now I've warmed up. I've warmed up to it quite a bit over the
The 1
Matt
year.
warms up
year,
to
over the
everything.
1 year.
Let me just say that.
well, because I need to get used to the concept, and then I need to understand why it was done, and then I need to kind of run through it in my head, and then I come to a conclusion afterwards. If I don't like something after I've done all that, like if it's a
That
few
never
days later and
happens.
I don't like something, there's been things, but you know it's bad. But this I'm like, fine. I do still want them to avoid the trap of like the Old Republic or the Knights of the Old Republic, where everything looks very similar, or even the Old Republic, where the like Republic soldiers look like clones, that kind of thing. I want them to fall away from that trapping and definitely like change up styles for different eras. But 25,000 years, whatever. Hu Yang's been around for 25,000 years. That is an unfathomably long amount of time. Humans weren't even doing shit 25,000 years ago. But hey, who cares? We had hyperspace travel for that long, quarter of 100,000 years, whatever.
If
You
you're
could
trying
say-
to bring sense into Star Wars timelines, you're going to be a sad man. For,
Well,
very quick.
it's basically it's like a fantasy setting, but like shot to like the umpth degree, because instead of fantasy trappings where it's castles and everybody's riding horses, everybody's flying to different planets. So
Yeah.
you had to kind of upscale the time. I kind of get it. Whatever. I'm rambling,
Makes sense. No.
but I like Hu
I-
Yang now.
I
That's
love
the-
David
Yeah.
Tennant, big Doctor Who fan. So
Okay.
when I first discovered back in the day that was him in the Clone Wars, I was like, wait, I know that voice. I know that.
Yeah,
Scottish tenor.
I feel like his like initial like voiceover work was just kind of like, oh yeah, here's just this like little silly thing, and you can say you're in Star Wars, and he was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And now it's just like, Actually, I'm in it again.
You have like title credits start.
And now-
he's doing so much recently
Yeah.
too. So
He has the
Yeah.
opportunity, if you think about it, he has the opportunity to be in every single Star Wars project, like upcoming project. He could be in Dave Filoni's film. He could be in Dawn of the Jedi. He could be in Ray's New Order.
Oh, yeah, he
Oh,
could be in all
that's
three
right.
Think
movies.
about it. He could literally bridge all the gaps in all the different.
He's all
eras.
the Jedi.
David
If I had a
Tennant-
nickel, if I had a nickel for every time David Tennant had gone back to a previous role of his this year, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird it happened twice in the same year because he's coming back as the Doctor
he's coming back as Doctor. Yeah.
again. So it's it's just funny how that happens.
For some reason,
but-
I was like, "Oh man, is Kilgrave back?" I love him in Jessica Jones.
Oh, terrifying in that.
To
man.
paraphrase a quote of a friend of ours, instead of 3PO, Hu Yang is the key to all of this.
Absolutely.
So, write that down. That's a
Yes.
Michael quote.
I'll write it down.
You remember
No,
that?
you're gonna
You
write
refer
that
to
down.
3PO all the time. Write that down. Write that down.
Because soon we're gonna be looking at that. We're gonna be looking back and saying, "Remember when Hu Yang wasn't in every Star Wars project?" And we're gonna be marking your words because he's gonna be
He's
in
a
every
cool
Star
droid.
Wars.
I'm okay with
Everything.
it. There was a
too.
moment, not to jump ahead, but where his reaction involved him like basically just moving the bottom halves of his circular eyelids. He's just like,
I love that as well. I love
He's so
how
expressive.
actually expressive he is as well, because that's such a unique
Yeah.
feature to
all of
actually
these,
incorporate. Because it shows him like either like thinking really hard, or his like doubt face, or his genuine sadness as
The
well
sad
later
face.
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sad face Hu Yang is depressing,
that killed me.
majorly so.
on. Never
I
gets
felt-
easier.
I felt really bad for him in that trying to fix the ship. It ended up like bringing him back to square one because boy, have I been there. And it's he took it in stride, just be like, well, that's gonna set me back a bit.
That's
But
gonna
hey,
set me back.
Ahsoka defends him because Sabine's like, that droid messed something up, and Ahsoka's
Yeah,
like,
she
no,
knew.
he wouldn't. He wouldn't
no.
do that.
Yeah.
I
Like,
did
yeah,
that so that you guys knew there was something going on.
I didn't even think of that. I just thought it was because the HK droids mess with it, but I kind of like that idea.
Yeah, I'd like to think that he like kind of let a shot go by near that panel a little too close.
Oh, he definitely intentionally did that so they would come out.
Yeah.
Because they cover
Yep.
his mouth, which is back to the whole 3PO and Empire thing. It's like, how does that work?
How does
Cover his
that
mouth.
work?
I guess he
Yeah.
does have like a
It
speaker
just like
in there.
turns
but-
it down.
I mean, a localized speaker, metal covering, if it's insulated properly, that I think that would work. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
But you should hear some muffling. It should be some comedic muffling.
Yeah.
yeah.
So they fight all the dudes, droids and dudes. I don't know. What they
Droids,
were,
right?
Just
I think they're just droids.
All droids are
They-
dudes.
Then
Not
Ahsoka,
like gender-wise, they're just
dude,
Ahsoka
Yeah.
and Sabine take off, and Hu
Hu Yang
he
specifically
says,
says,
Stay together.
he says you're always better together.
Yeah.
And they don't. They're like, oh, that's nice, and then they totally forget that, and they don't stay together. Like, what are you fools doing? Stay
You
together.
fool.
He told you.
That's funny because in Doctor Who, Tennant would always say, "Don't wander off," and then that was immediately what his companions would start doing, and it's just like
They don't listen.
David
to him.
Tennant. No one will listen to him, and it's not fair. He's got good
Craziness.
things to say.
So meanwhile, we have Hera, Jason, and Chopper on Home One. Just Hera has her bag packed with the 2 kids or whatever you want to call them, and Chopper's
no,
the oldest one of the bunch. But yeah, they're headed
true.
to the Ghost to
the
go
officer
and
is
help
just
the crew.
like, hey, you're not. He's like, are you leaving? Like, what's going on? And like, I love how Hera literally says, and it's unclear if she's saying it to Jason or to Chopper, but she says, watch him. Like, who is she telling to watch who? Like, I genuinely want to know. Is she telling Jason to watch Chopper, or telling Chopper
It's
to watch
just a
Jason?
generalized
Because
watch each other.
Yes.
Could you trust Chopper with a child?
she
He takes
probably
care of the
has.
younglings in,
At
I
this
think-
point.
in Rebels.
Chopper is like a dog, and well, he's a cat in some ways, but he is like a dog in that he will fiercely protect anyone who's part of his family. And so,
That's
like,
true.
Jason is completely safe. In fact, I fear for
Oh, yeah.
anyone who would try to mess with him as a result.
Oh yeah.
True.
Yeah, no, Chopper is ruthless. So
There's a clip of Chopper at Disney parks, which it's a crime that at least he isn't on Batu East, but
yeah,
where like he
Yeah.
went after someone in the crowd, like in the camera person, like Hera had to hold him back, like hold me back, bro, hold me back.
Oh
It's
my
like,
God, that
I
is
love
too
that little
good.
menace.
So good.
We also so Hera gets to the Ghosts. They take off. Jason's strapped into the passenger seat there, and it was our first shot inside the Ghost. I think this show
Yeah.
so far, right?
yep. This
So we
was
see
the
Sabine's
introduction to
painted
the
up
Ghost.
chair in the back. We see although we don't see, Matt sent it a day later, and it was the blurriest thing I've ever seen. We see a photo on the dashboard of Kanan. If you squint really close,
Yep.
we don't know what the deal with that is, but a very cool detail nonetheless. But they
He was
leave.
sitting there foaming at the mouth for them to mention him or talk
Oh,
about him or
They
anything.
do eventually, but we'll get there.
We'll get
We'll get
there.
there.
So they leave for Cetos, but they're joined by a squadron of X-wings, and everyone's been calling this kind of New Republic age the Mandoverse. I don't love the term, but it is what it is. But guys, it
Yep.
should be called the Carson Teva-verse
Mhm.
because he's the one that's connecting this already.
He's the guy.
He binds the galaxy together.
It really does.
He
Who
Carrying
doesn't
it
love
on his
this?
back.
does.
It was
And-
great to
and-
see him show up in this.
Man, his performance in both episodes is just he's so good at just being like, all right.
Yep. Yep.
He's- Carson's nothing surprises him. He's always just like, you know what? Stranger things have happened, and stranger things are going to happen. So,
Just
all
always
right, let's
along for the
go.
ride.
Like he's just ready for it, and like I love that about him because he's also always willing to hear people out as well, and
Yeah.
always willing to lend that hand. I'm like, where
There
am
you
I
go.
going with this? What
He's a good
word?
dude.
But yeah, I love it was a full squadron of X-Wings as well, not just like one or two. It was the full 5, and one of them was Brendan Wayne,
Yep.
Yeah,
the
Yeah.
Mandalorian's
Love that.
stand-in stunt double, one of them,
Yeah.
which is very
Congrats
cool to
him for
see.
getting some FaceTime for
Yeah.
once. That's great.
Yeah,
He
seriously.
plays a larger role in the
deserves
next
it.
episode. A crucial
does.
role, if you will.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, no. Carson Teva, he could be the next Hu Yang. He could just be everywhere for no reason too. He just shows up.
The Nick Fury of
25,000
the
years
Star Wars
ago.
universe.
He's like,
Yeah.
oh, we're
Building
bringing
a
the
team.
Jedi. All right.
Yes.
And then later on, when it's Rey, he's like, "Oh, you're bringing the Jedi back." Okay,
Look,
Just
I've
old
seen that
wisdom
before.
Carson is
Let's
like,
do it.
He's kinda like the Coulson of this.
he is.
We're gonna go Marvel,
Wait,
but-
don't say that.
Hey, I guess he's, no, oh no.
Don't say that.
They are
Don't
building to an
say
Avengers
that.
movie.
And then Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. would have been Rangers of the New Republic. But
There you
we're not
go.
doing this.
So
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Oh well. Not to bring down the mood, but
That's the real Project Resurrection right there. is
Yeah.
They bring Carson Teva back after the movie. That's
I
what I'm
did love the
hoping
one.
for.
I did love that
So-
once a rebel, always a rebel line. You know, just like,
Yeah.
yeah.
it sucks
Oh,
having to
yeah,
rebel
yeah.
against what should be the good guys, but hey, that's bureaucracy for you.
They're just a bunch of stuffed shirts now.
Yeah.
Poor
Slave
Mon
shirts.
Mothma.
I
It
love that
stinks
term.
seeing her in the way she is now, just like completely just stuck up in the government and just
Well,
not.
that's kind. I mean,
Well, yeah, she's
I hate
trying to do
say
all.
it. Go ahead.
No, I'm just she's trying to do all that she can, and she wants to do everything that she can, but like she knows there's no way she can get around it, and so like I think that comes about in the next episode when she talks to her again of just like, do you have the evidence? Have you seen it with your own eyes? And
Yeah.
she hasn't, and so she can't do anything about it, and it sucks. But like when it does become this, like I'm sure you're gonna launch a new man with the whole the bureaucracy. Like there's no way anything can actually get done without that evidence.
the glory days are behind her.
Yeah. Well, and you know, I hate to say this, but even in Andor and Rebels, she is the kind of like stuck up one who's like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, I want to do this. You know, I mean,
That's true.
She does, after a while, start to play the rebel game and start to get dirty, like play dirty, especially like, you know, pimping out her daughter and stuff like that. That's awful. And that's like stuff that she has to do. She's like pushed to do, but she's always the idealist who's always sitting back and like, no, I don't want to do this. You know, we can find a different way. I'm hesitant to help. Like even when Ezra's like, oh, you got to help us because they're attacking the base. She's like, wish I could.
Right.
And it
yeah.
happens twice. That happens twice. It's like, what are you
And then
doing?
Saw
Lauren?
Gerrera screams at her.
Yeah, and then Saw Gerrera screams at her, and she makes like this impassioned, like supposedly like really inspirational speech, but it's just like it kind of rings hollow because like, yeah, I guess, but like
Yeah.
at the same time, Saw got you the Death Star plans, so
A reminder for anyone that hasn't watched Rebels to go watch Rebels. 'Cause,
Watch
yeah,
Rebels.
great show.
dude, watch my video about watching Rebels.
And if
But
you're watching
not-
Ahsoka,
Report about watching Rebels.
You should
Don't
really
watch my
watch
Rebels
Rebels.
recap video because that's spoiled.
Boy, that's meta.
So I wanna
Yeah.
I wanna
That
jump
is-
ahead to the hyperspace ring,
okay, yeah.
because
Little skippies.
I have an observation / a question. How come it has like the 8 or 9 engines for hyperspace, right? How come they're in this piece of experimental technology with these like 8 hyperspace engines hooked up to it, and they're all standing on the bridge? This thing is charging up, and none of them think, hey, I should probably sit down and like strap into his seat.
You think they were all just like
they're about
flopping
to get
against the back wall like a
rocked
pancake?
away. Like this is my one thing. I wish that there was like something like that in which an extra like step was taken, because they are going. It's a long journey, but at the same time, it's 8 engines, and it's like, oh, we should probably at least the initial launch take some precautions, and then. But no, just 8 engines. They're out of there. Like,
Yeah,
that's been
I
weighing
agree.
on me the past like week.
It's
I
a
just keep
problem.
laughing at it.
It's a problem with Star Wars, and it's a problem with like most sci-fi in general, is not like accounting for how constant thrust creates a force like a gravitational force completely on you, and that's why I really love The Expanse, is because like not only was that like how it's like I had to, since you brought that up, I was like, well, here we go. Not only are all the ships designed in that way for thrust gravity, but also like stations are built for spin gravity, and like there's plot points where characters are at risk of dying because they have to run at a full burn because they're being chased by another force, and
like inject themselves with like G-force juice to like survive, like going super
nuts.
fast
because
like,
they could have a blood clot in a moment. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
And the problem with Star Wars is that like we see when they jump out of hyperspace, there's the whoa, there's that, but that's really it. Otherwise, like this massive amount of force has no bearing on anybody, and it's just that initial blip. And so I think of it like the subway. Like some people just want to stand cool and like I don't need the bar, I can just balance and
you just fall over as you go. But yeah,
then it just breaks real fast and you look like an idiot.
yeah.
The only other time I can think of we see like force like that is when in Last Jedi, when Poe does the jump at first and his like helmet flies forward and the thing comes down.
Yeah, because that's another. He like charged up the engine.
That's
really
like
that.
Like regular like
burst.
speed.
Yeah,
but yeah, you're right. I mean,
but light speed. Yeah.
Do X-wings have artificial gravity? I feel like stuff would be floating around in your cockpit if they didn't.
They probably all do. Who knows? These are scientific questions we don't need the answers to.
Exactly.
I just thought it was really funny that it's the 8 engines, and I thought that could have been like a little like touch as well. I mean, like my mind is already a little bit fried today because we've been playing too much Starfield, and I won't touch into the details, but I just got to a point in the story where they kind of explain how they do like grav jumping or hyperspace travel.
Oh my god.
And it's something. Wow. I'm not surprised. That's like how they come up with it, but it's something.
So what do you guys think of the battles in the forest?
Anyway, yeah, but
what the battles in the forest?
The duels in the forest.
It was so similar. The Shin and Sabine one, it was so similar to the Starkiller base fight, I loved it. I
totally
loved it so much because it was like so like intense with like the way that Shin was fighting was so similar to Kylo Ren with like the physicality and just being so literally tough and like angry about it. And plus like Sabine doesn't really have like the force sensitivity fully that we know of, and so it is so similar to the Starkiller base fight because Rey was finding that force sensitivity like as well in that moment. So like it was so similar, and like
and they cut down trees.
It was also in a forest.
They got thrown against a tree.
Yeah,
dude. The forest honestly was a detriment to me, because like for the same reason, because like it's like, another forest, but also because like I had this problem with some of the television stuff where it's like, okay, we're just gonna go out into the woods here, or just we're just gonna go out into a field, and this is Tython, and it's like, okay, you barely dressed it up, like I don't really feel like I'm on an alien planet. I feel like we're in the woods. It's the same problem I had with Alderaan when Leia was running away from the kidnappers. I felt like that was a student film scene.
That really
looked like
I'm not saying this was a student film scene. This was really well shot. The fight was amazing.
Alien enough.
Cetos looked pretty alien.
Cetos the red trees
as a whole does, but like something about it when we're just in the thick of a fight, it's just a dark woods to me. But the fight itself was great.
Things need to be lit a little bit brighter as well. I understand it was nighttime, and I understand they're using the lightsabers. You want to make them pop, but I am so tired of shows being so dark.
Look at all the saber duels in all these shows. In Kenobi,
as I'm saying,
in the darkest settings.
I am so tired of shows being so dark. Like
the volume, man.
I can't see.
It's ridiculous.
I think that is just a product of them wanting to show off the lighting.
Which I understand.
I think that's...
You can do it. They can figure it out. It can be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I
Well, it's
agree.
a problem
I think,
when you shoot it in a woods where there's no other natural light. There's no other diegetic lights in this environment.
Put
So
it
like you
in.
can't inform the
We
scene
can
with
do it.
anymore.
Sea
And
Toast
so
could
it's
have
like
8 moons. could be bright as day. Who
wow,
cares?
it's just a really friggin' full
Jeez.
One thing
they're,
that
all,
they
they're all full tonight.
just
Oh my
all
god,
reflecting right on the surface.
It's so bright. It's too bright.
One
That's
thing that
good.
they had going for them with this fight as well is
Superman.
not only was it like the Shin and
Supermans.
Sabine fight, is it was also the Ahsoka and Marek fight happening at the same time. So like they
Yeah.
could have had, if they wanted, like extra lights flashing in the background if they really
That
wanted
would've been
to.
really cool.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
And I
Could have
loved
done
that fight as well, the Ahsoka and Marek one, because it was so similar to the Obi-Wan and Maul fight, you know,
Yeah.
in Rebels.
Yeah.
Which
You
is
could have
like
done-
wild.
And it's similar to the Ahsoka and Inquisitor fight from Tales of the Jedi, and it's also
Yes.
similar to the Obi-Wan and Maul fight from Rebels. It's
That's
like
what I
it's like
said.
oh
first.
Yeah,
no,
that's
I
what she
thought-
just said.
Never mind. But it's
I was like, it's like, is there
I'm
another
sorry.
one?
I'm a little slow too. I've been up since 4 a.m. So
And it's a very, very samurai thing of
Oh.
I don't know the name of the film, but I've seen like the side by side of this and that. And it's like the
It's the
same
one-
stance and
where the guy's like arm gets cut off and then he like immediately starts like founting blood. Like
yeah,
Mhm.
it looks like it's like a
Kurosawa
wood
film.
chipper. Like
Monty
oh my
Python.
god, what movie is that? That's killing me
Yeah.
because I just
seven samurais.
is that
Or-
Seven Samurai?
Might have been.
I don't know. I'm not well
That
versed
is-
in.
Oh,
Fortress.
that's killing me because that's killing me. Again, I'm dead today.
We
but
apologize.
I'm gonna Google that like as
You're
soon
gonna-
as it's over, and I'm gonna punch myself in the face. Oh.
But what did you guys? So Sabine, when that happens, Marok's down. Whatever's Night Sister magic's going on with him, which is very cool. Like
I
a
love that.
zombie.
I love
Fire
it.
in the
What is
wind.
and that
Yeah.
makes perfect sense. Why he had such like crappy rusty armor? Like that's so cool. He's like a zombie knight with
Do you
like
think Shin
rusty
knew?
armor.
Because Shin looked stunned. She was like, "Holy shit!"
No,
I don't think.
I don't
No.
think she
probably
did.
no.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's just this weird guy I have to work with. Like we all have that coworker, you know. You just kind of just put up with them, and you don't really want to talk to them, and they do their job. That it's
Yeah.
fine. You have no.
And they're
real
also a
criticism
hot
of
bag
them.
of air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A bag of hot
You,
air.
There you
think
go.
you're pretty sure they're just a collection of gas and bones, but you don't have the evidence, and you're not going to ask them that. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No way.
So-
But
rusty.
it's a cool, like everyone was theorizing with the name Marok and everything. Like
Oh my goodness.
I was
oh
getting
God,
so
I really
sick of
wanted
that.
that to be Galen.
Why
but
did
at
you
the
want
same
that to
time,
be Galen?
Because I
What, are
just
you
wanted him to
crazy?
exist for a
No.
second, even if he got cut down immediately. I don't give a shit.
But that
I
would
just
be
wanted Sam
awful
Witwer to
for
get
a
some
number of
live
reasons.
action work. But
That would
at
be
the same
awful.
time,
To have like Star Killer in canon, and then have him like immediately killed off. Like,
Yeah, it'd be funny.
like think about how mad. Well, okay, it would be funny.
That'd be
For us.
When you
hilarious.
said
But
Galen,
think
I
about how
went.
mad people would be.
Galen or-
Galen.
Galen Urso.
Oh, Galen Erso.
Yeah, it'd be funny if it was
Or-
Galen Urso. I mean, that would be pretty funny.
But it's
And then Wrecker shows up. He gets,
Oh,
he
whoa,
gets
what the
slashed,
hell?
and then Wrecker pops up from behind the thing.
Look at Galen Urso.
That's
Galen
Urso.
I think that's the stupidest inside joke we have. I hate it so
All
much.
right, give the
I barely
The
remember
origin
the
of the joke.
context for that.
The origin of the joke. I think we were trying to predict who was going to show up in Bad Batch season 2,
And
and
Matt
I
was
think
like,
we
I don't
threw
know,
out
Galen
Galen Urso. And then someone made the voice
was
of
Matt.
Wrecker seeing Galen Urso.
And I was like, oh, Galen Urso. That's it. That's the whole joke.
That's
It's
the joke.
stupid.
So anyways,
back to-
on good track.
back to this masterpiece of a show.
I was just gonna say, there is that thematic symbolism with all this naming between like Shin and Hati being the two wolves that chase the sun and the moon, and then Marok being the name of the knight who was cursed by the witch
Morgan.
Morgan, thank you, and turned into a werewolf. I was like, that's literally the only witch in Arthurian legend. Come on, man. Anyway,
Yeah.
And I remember after the cameras turned off, like a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned paganism in Ahsoka, and we got into a big whole thing about that, but we won't this time.
That's
But we'll
true.
save it. I want to save
Um,
it for either like a video or like something. We can talk about that at some point.
oh
'cause
right,
that's a
I can't
big
even
deal.
catch up on that because I wasn't there for that one.
We'll fill you in.
That's all right.
We'll circle back.
But I think
Yeah.
it's neat because I think it's pretty easy to connect the dots. I mean, God, as I've always said, I said this when we were you guys were thinking that what's her face was going to show up in the Book of Boba Fett. It's always about the simplest, easiest solution. So it kind of makes sense having her turn up, or just have just enchanted him, raised him back from the dead, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And that fits the legend enough thematically.
And it's
so-
super funny that my interest in this character has skyrocketed since he was just like a zombie. Like now I want like his figure, and I love like his design, and I'm just like obsessed with Marok.
He was funny because of the memes too.
Well, yeah.
Like there's a lot.
I
There's
can't
a
wait
lot
for the
around
comic
him.
in a year when they like explain how he got resurrected and who he was and all
That'd
that.
be cool. Yeah.
I'm still. I mean, he's not the eighth brother. He's probably not the eighth brother. But I've always wanted him to be the eighth brother. But whatever. Probably another Inquisitor somewhere.
Yeah.
As per Inquisitor as the Red Blade, there was a lot of Inquisitors.
Apparently.
And a lot of them that weren't even numbered. But there were a lot of them. So.
So
any one of those guys.
Marok's down. He's a fart in the wind. He's gone. Sabine and Shin are still dueling, and Ahsoka turns to them like she was gonna go help. And Sabine's like, "I got this. You go." And I'm like, "Why didn't they just like
friggin' stay there?" First of all,
it would have taken 2 seconds to take Shin out.
Literally
with
would have taken 2 seconds. There was 2 of them versus 1.
And
Just
Ahsoka's like
her out,
the best duelist there is.
Take her out,
apparently,
and then you can face Balin together. And again, it's 2 against 1. Strength in numbers.
Yeah,
I don't know. That was Ahsoka being Ahsoka.
The good side of it is,
yeah.
You think Ahsoka would have been smarter than that, just based on what we know about her in Rebels and
See, we'll get into this more when we talk about the next episode. But Ahsoka is definitely off. She is incredibly full of self-doubt and like just not right.
Well,
until she reaches her stage in episode 5. Again,
but
we'll
I don't know
talk about
her
this later.
I don't know where her self-doubt came from.
From Anakin, from her failure with Anakin. I mean, again,
in Rebels, she was
talk about this in.
I know.
Doing okay in Rebels.
We'll get there.
So the good thing about Ahsoka leaving on her own is we get this awesome confrontation with her and Balin. And Balin is just my favorite part of this show, I think. Balin and Finn, but Balin is incredible.
Balin Erso.
Balin Erso.
Sorry.
Earlier in the episode, AJ, your favorite line, like ever?
Oh, there's a funny little story. Quick, yeah. So Morgan turns on that little compass thing, and a little beam comes out. And Balin, not Galen, Balin is like, witchcraft. And I just thought that was the coolest line. And the next day at work, I was talking to someone about the show, and I was like, "Oh, I loved when Balin said witchcraft." And this guy like ran around the corner and was like, "I loved that too." And I was like, "Well, I didn't know like everyone picked up on that."
That's great. I love that too. Yeah.
Yeah,
adjacent to that as well. Awesome. I love how this episode literally has the ticking clock as well, because we have them like setting the coordinates in the beginning of it. It's ticking the entire time, and so like we have that going, which you don't always see in that content anymore. If like literally the ticking clock it's counting down, we're down to the minute. But there it was, and I liked how that was in this episode.
Yeah, I love how it was implemented too. Tension. Like definitely. It definitely like Death Star vibes, where it's like
a little bit,
countdown. Like when there's a literal countdown, as opposed to like, oh, this could happen soon. We gotta stop it. It's like, nope, this is literally happening right now, and you gotta stop it. And of course, we have Ahsoka and Balin kind of facing off. Balin talks about Anakin,
which is cool. Yeah,
he didn't mention you.
That's
so good. That was some snips action there. Like, oh, good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was great. The best comeback possible.
Balin's probably in his 50s or 60s, maybe 50s.
So how old was he when he would know Anakin?
So that would be 25 years ago. So 25. We'll say he's 50.
Well,
okay.
So, Mando and everything's like 6 to 9 years after.
So it would be 30 years.
ROTJ, yeah.
As I said the other day, I believe that Balin was about 25 to 30 when Order 66 happened. And so then this is what, 25 to 30 years later?
Yeah.
There you go.
Someone asked John Favreau. He's good with years.
That lines
up.
Got him.
He's about he's between 0 and 50 years old.
Yeah.
Does that narrow it down for you?
Yeah, great.
Anyway.
All joking aside, their confrontation was great. The dialogue was great. Like this show has been 10 out of 10. I think for all of us so far, it's just been amazing. It's met our expectations.
Yep.
But I think if I had to pick like a weak point of the show, it's like some of the dialogue. But I mean, I don't go to Star Wars for dialogue unless it's Andor.
I'm with
but
you.
Like I thought Ahsoka and Balin talking was like really well.
This episode had some of the weakest dialogue, specifically when Sabine and Ahsoka are talking, and Sabine's like, "Don't worry about me," and Ahsoka's like, "I won't." Should I be? What does that mean?
Yeah, what does that
what-
mean?
What kind of dialogue is that? What are you talking about?
Can I count on you? Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Sure.
And then
It's
nope,
like,
you can't.
okay, whatever. Like that.
Little odd.
We'll push that aside for everything that we got with Balin.
But it's Star Wars. Like
Ahsoka.
when has dialogue ever been like
It's never been
amazing?
perfect.
Yeah.
Again, Attack of the
Got
Clones has the line,
sand.
I could wish away these feelings. I wish I could wish away these feelings.
We'll find
But
a way to
again,
find them in Rogue One.
in
as
Rogue
I always
that
One,
bring
you'll
up.
line
find a way to
Padme
find
says when she says that she loves Anakin, like I like just like the way she says like deeply. I'm like for like
Truly deeply.
truly deeply in love.
Love it.
What would
Oh,
Hugh Yang's face
alright.
look like watching that?
There was
He would
that
have the
one line.
squinty face.
Oh yeah. There was that one line of Revenge of the Sith that Obi-Wan gives to Padme that got cut that everyone's like always saying like, oh, this is a wasted opportunity, where he's just like admits that he always knew
Right.
what was up between them and how he like wanted
yeah.
to just have the best for them both and how sad he was. Like that was some good dialogue, George. What were you doing, man?
It's okay.
Comfort time.
He doesn't.
I loved the Balin and Ahsoka fight though, because it was such a good showcase of both of them, because Ahsoka chooses to just use the one saber,
For
at
some
least
reason.
at first,
Why
and
did
then
she
she's
do
forced to. But like it's such a brutal fight between the two of them, and then it is also like Ahsoka showing how like she is still confused and a little bit unbalanced as well when she sees Shin run up and Sabine's not with her,
Well, that's
or
the thing.
she just thinks Sabine is dead for like the
Yeah.
minute
Tapped
there.
into a bit of darkness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
You know why-
unbalanced in general.
You know why Ahsoka only fought with the one saber?
She's
Because
unbalanced.
she was only equipped with that one saber stance, and she couldn't go to the thing to switch it up.
She had to go to the
Jedi
meditation
Survivor.
circles
Yeah.
to like
That's
swap
it.
out.
That's it.
Although they were kind of at a meditation circle in a way. So
Ooh.
So she
Or
could
she
have
hadn't reached
just
that.
kneeled down.
She hasn't reached that level in Jedi Outcast where like you actually do unlock the style. You know, you're just
Yeah,
stuck
there
with
you
that
go.
one style for the first quarter of the game.
It
She
doesn't
didn't
matter
want
that she
Merrick
was
to-
using it earlier in the episode, but
she didn't want Merrick to respawn. So
That's
Yeah.
she
it.
just stuck
That's
with the
it.
one saber.
You got a
That's
spawn
fine.
camp for sure.
That's
There
the
you go.
tough. That's the tough.
Yeah, listen.
You don't-
Cheesing is necessary sometimes.
Yeah. So
But this ties into the biggest, most controversial part of the episode, which I'm assuming you're going to talk about next, or maybe not.
yeah, no, I'm getting
Sure.
there. So Shin gets yeeted against a rock, as we just were talking. Then Ahsoka gets yeeted off the cliff,
Yep.
and then Sabine is holding the map, or the ball map. And it was a cool, heavy
ball.
moment. But it's funny just looking at her holding it against her hand, because if she shoots it, her hand's gonna get blown off.
I know.
I'll do it.
I'll do it. But yeah, Matt, you can get into this. I know it's your favorite part.
I
of
mean,
the
this
episode.
this ties into a lot. I have a lot to say about this moment. I've been talking about it for 2 weeks to myself, to anybody who will listen. But it's like, specifically, a lot of people I see talk about Sabine making the right choice, handing the map over to Balin and Shin, and I think that absolutely melts my brain like it's a fucking popsicle. I can't even. I like. Okay, to go back to, like, we look at like Empire Strikes Back, and we look at the scene where Luke, specifically to save his friends, makes a foolhardy decision, runs into it headlong, helps the villain, and accomplishes almost nothing. Gets his hand chopped off, finds out Vader's his father way too prematurely. And we actually have quotes from George Lucas specifically stating, like, Luke messed up in Empire. He was not supposed to leave his training early. He was not supposed to go to Bespin and get his ass
For
handed
sure.
to him.
But help the villain?
He played right into his hands. He sprung the trap. Vader wanted him there specifically to, freeze him and free and bring him to the Emperor. And of course, even though that doesn't happen, it's only because Luke decides to kill himself instead. So
And he's like,
indirectly helps the villain.
so he helps.
I suppose.
He
Makes
chooses
the villain's
I don't
job
think-
easier.
I
play
think
the
without him
villain's
being
game.
there, most of that goes the same. I don't think much changes thematically. Like Han still gets sent in the carbonite with Boba. Lando and everyone else would still have been able to escape in the Falcon. In fact, they wouldn't have doubled back in the Bespin. I just don't think
Exactly.
Luke's influence on that. It only affects him and Vader. I don't think his experience there really helps the Empire, because Vader didn't get what he wanted, nor did Luke's influence actually cause any potential
Vader doesn't
benefits
get
to the Empire.
everything he wanted, but he definitely wanted Luke to know that he was his father. Finding out that Vader is his father is like a huge turning point in Luke's characterization. Like at the beginning of
harping on a
Return of the
minor point to
Jedi,
be
we're
clear.
supposed to kind of see Luke as like, oh, is he bad guy? He's like wearing all dark and he's got like a hood on and he's choking people. That's
Comes
pretty
around to
evil.
bite him in the ass though.
Well, yeah,
Vader
of course.
is- Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, it does and it doesn't.
Well,
I'm taking
It
issue
ends
with a
up
very
saving
minor
him.
point.
As
I'm
a bad
nitpicking a little
guy.
bit, admittedly.
But the point I'm trying to make is that you don't play into the villain's hands to save your friends. That's the point. You're supposed to sit back. You're supposed to weigh options. You're supposed to destroy the map. Sabine
agree.
should have destroyed the map.
It's similar to Ezra when he got influenced by Maul with the Sith holocron. Like he really thought he knew better than Kanan in that situation, and it really took a real come to Jesus moment for him to realize, hey, maybe the guy with horns and red and black tattoos and red eyes isn't the most trustworthy fellow in the galaxy.
Hey, that's profiling.
Yeah, I know. Not all Dathomiri Zabraks are bad. I get it.
That's right. That's right. Remember that. But Star Wars is all about letting go. And that's the thing. Ahsoka was not able to let go of Sabine, so it unbalanced her. She force pushes Shin and she gets kicked off the cliff. Then Sabine, because Ahsoka isn't there to coach Sabine or help Sabine isn't able to let go of her attachment to Ezra and hands over the map to the villains and helps the villains. And puts now Hera and
The galaxy.
The galaxy, but I'm talking specifically about her friends Hera and I'm Carson Teva, but Hera and Jason in the Ghost, specifically in danger.
And
like
Chopper.
it's a bad decision immediately after, because as soon as she's on the ship, she sees Hera and she's like, "Oh my God, Hera!" And she's like struggling against her binds, and she's like, "I've screwed up. This was a mistake." So I don't know why people are like really going out of their way to like defend Sabine. Like I get people. There's a certain subset of people who I think got really defensive about Sabine's decision, because so many other people I've seen have been complaining about Sabine being like stupid or like poor. That was like a poorly written moment because Sabine shouldn't have done that. Again, that's all stupid too.
I think that it's highly predictable that she did that. Like I feel like Sabine would do anything to be able to see Ezra again. That's really
Ezra
the only
would do the
reason.
same thing too.
That's really the only reason she's even on this journey right now. It's not really because she wants to learn to be a Jedi herself right now. She just wants to find Ezra. That's what it is. Because like
Ezra would do that in season 1, 2, or 3, but in season 4, when he finally is able to let go of Kanan and then immediately after let go of his parents, he would probably not like the decision Sabine made. He'd probably be like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?"
himself to stay there.
I think Ezra would still do the same.
And
if Sabine was stuck out there, I think he would.
This goes back.
He would have tried to find another way, though. At this point, I think that what's going to happen, like from here, is like Sabine.
Well, he would know about the whales.
Will have that moment of her own. Of this is what I was like. I need to like have this like letting go type moment instead. But
and this
we just
brings
didn't get
me back
there yet.
to Jedi Battle Scars. The novel, for all of its faults and all of its controversies, has the greatest definition of attachment I've ever seen in Star Wars. And that is when Cal and Merrin are talking to each other, and Cal comes to the conclusion that the difference between love and attachment is with love, you were willing to sacrifice yourself, but you also accept and understand that the person you love would also be willing to sacrifice themselves for you. And attachment is stripping that other person of that choice and not letting them make the same decision and feel the same for you as you do for them. And that's where Sabine has messed up. She has now undone Ezra's sacrifice by helping the villains bring Thrawn back.
That is true.
Ezra would not want his sacrifice to be undone to save him. I don't care what anybody says. I know at the end of Rebels, he's kind of like, "I can't wait to come home." But that's like a caveat. That's like either him trying to find his way home or them finding him without helping people bring Thrawn back. You can find Ezra without doing that, which Ahsoka shows in episode 5.
It's unfortunate, like people get really attached to characters these days and have a hard time allowing flaws in their characters that they care so much about. And it's a little exhausting at times. But it's people make mistakes, especially in the middle or like right before the end of a story. Like that's the point where every character is going to make every mistake they possibly could, because narratively that's where things get most exciting.
Characters need to make mistakes. Characters need to make mistakes.
Luke, otherwise they're not interesting.
Nothing would be entertaining if there was no mistakes or conflict.
Luke runs off to Bespin and ends up getting his hand cut off. Rey hits Luke over the head with a stick and runs off to Kylo Ren and helps him become Supreme Leader and gets tortured in the process. You know, Anakin does everything. So it's the same thing.
Wait. No, that's totally.
Yeah, so after that, you know, Sabine takes off with Morgan and those weird droids and good Lord Balin, as Morgan calls
The
him.
good Lord Balin.
The good Lord.
You probably weren't expecting this, but one of those droids reminded me, like on the bridge with the 3 eyes, like he had like 2 on one side and 1 on the other. He reminded me a lot of one of the antagonists from Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight, AT-88.
Right.
He's this like really smooth talking droid, and he's just, I don't know, he
remember
just had a similar
AT-88.
kind of face shape and eye stalks. Like it's
I know
not
what you're
an exact match, but
Well, hey,
it's
if they were
close.
going for any reference, it was probably that.
I would hope so.
And they were doing it specifically for people like you.
Yeah,
You're
Naz,
eating very well.
Guitar and watch.
We get this beautiful transition of the ocean into Ahsoka's head laying in the world between worlds, which was awesome to see in live action. You know,
God.
I was gonna say it looked great in live action, but it really is just like a black screen with a bunch of beams.
I mean,
but
it's
we hear "Hey Snips." It pans to Anakin, and
Yeah.
I'm usually a stickler over the what do we call it?
De-aging.
The deep fake de-aging. Like I thought it looked really good.
I thought it looked
Oh,
bad.
not in episode 4. Yeah,
I thought it looked really bad in episode 4.
That's rough.
Rubber Anakin looked awful, but episode 5,
He looked good in
Flawless.
5, yeah. So we get into
Flawless.
5
was
now.
incredible.
I was like,
Into
stunned.
Oh,
Fallen Jedi. Oh wait, that was this episode. Sorry. Shadow Warrior,
Warrior.
directed by Dave Filoni.
Oh,
So,
that guy.
Yep.
Who's that guy?
Who is that guy?
What's
This
that guy
fella.
done? Let's look
done
up
a couple
his.
things.
I think he directed an episode of The Mandalorian once.
Cartoon writer,
Yeah, cartoon writer.
little known.
What
Yeah.
a fucking episode.
oh my god.
A.
You ever like
Ooh.
Christmas morning? You're like, boy, I have like all these things on my list, and like I know I'm not gonna get them all, but like, boy, I really wish I
I
got them
think
all.
that
Like it's the
with-
feeling of getting every single one on your list.
Dude,
With
Dave
this
Filoni with a
episode-
big white beard delivered everything.
I
The
think
big
that
white beard.
for everyone, this episode hit right for everyone who is a huge fan for totally different reasons as well, and like different reasons would make
Yeah.
people like love it more than the other ones. Like there was like a few beats that like I absolutely like. I like jumped out of my seat for, and then there was other moments that I know other people would be really really excited about that I was just kind of like, eh. But like that's all of Star Wars at the
That's
same
literally-
time, so
It was a
it
buffet of an episode.
made sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Open it up.
So I mean, I feel I know this is probably like maybe all your favorite episodes of all them. I mean, I thought it was me
Mine, for
saying
sure.
it was probably my least favorite episode of the series so far, and I know that's probably crazy, and people are listening like, "What?"
Dude,
bold.
We need an
Wow.
abundance of
Hot
opinion
take.
on this podcast.
No,
So
I-
it's
I got-
okay.
I'm glad I have a
Macy's on
differing
blast.
opinion. So like I say that, but 1 through 4 were all 10 out of 10s for me. I could rewatch them every day. I loved every part of them. I love earlier episodes because I love like how the calm before the storm and everyone chilling, Sabine riding around listening to music. But
I
like
think it's important to note as well. AJ's like all-time favorite Star Wars character is Harrison Dula.
what does that have to do with this episode?
She's not in half of this episode, and the main
She was
reason
heavily
why
featured in this episode.
I was
True.
skeptical as to why episode 3
But-
would be a 10 out of 10 for you, and I think that's what Jamie's getting at.
that's yeah. She's yeah. Anyway,
But anyways, this I mean those episodes were a 10 out of 10, all of those. This is probably still like a 9 out of 10. I mean, that's still very good. Maybe 8.5 to 9 out of 10. That's still
Wow.
like very good.
This guy's dropping it. Maybe 8.
So
you know, let's go 7.5.
I
Wow.
do
Actually,
fall
it sucks.
victim to, and I'm talking about my problems here. I haven't really voiced them. I've typed them on my phone on my notes here, but I fall victim to being overhyped for things and then being underwhelmed, kind of like Jack, hoping you get all the Christmas presents. And I thought the World Between Worlds was done very well.
Did you not get your
You didn't
Christmas?
get the BB gun,
Did you not
dude,
get
I'm
your
sorry.
presents, dude? Like,
Yeah, I didn't get the.
The Red Rider.
I was gonna shoot
carbon
my
action.
eye out, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
oh man, yeah, come on.
I don't know what it was. Like there's maybe a few things I would do differently. And I texted Matt last night. I was like, oh, it was a glorified like bridge episode to me, which it kind of was. Like I was just saying I love Balin and I love seeing what Morgan's up to. And I love like I guess at the end of the day, I'm a big villain guy. I mean, we know I love Kylo and all that. We didn't really get to see what the villains
you
are
are.
up to in this episode. You know. But then again, I loved Anakin in this episode. I'm not a huge Anakin person. Like, he's there. He's a very important character. He's the Jesus of Star Wars, pretty much.
Holy shit, dude! Understate. That was so good, though. I love that so much. He's there. He's a pretty important character.
He's there.
He's him and Luke Skywalker, the most important
They're there.
characters in this whole damn thing. But like, I just don't vibe with him the most.
Sir.
But
Yeah,
I thought he
that.
was great in this. I thought Hayden was his best version
Easily.
of doing.
Do I have to pull up
Anakin.
the
Yes.
Youngling Slayer 9000?
You
No.
do.
Maybe.
But like, I don't know. There's things that we'll get into, but like, did
Well-
they have to duel? Like, I was looking for
Yes.
this
I
episode.
thought it was
Yes, they
perfect.
did.
Absolutely.
Well,
So
I know. Hold, give me my moment. You guys can all drool over the episode eventually.
Yeah,
All right,
I'm
all
ready,
right.
I'm ready to echo two things that you said. But
You
go
can
ahead.
echo all my things, but I have to say them
I'm
all.
not.
I'm ready. Go.
So
Bad news first. Bad news first.
exactly. I know what Matt's gonna say about why they did have to duel, but I thought this episode was kind of gonna be a Ghost of Future Past, Present, and it was, and I thought they did that well. But I was hoping for more Anakin Ahsoka dialogue, and I thought like I didn't love that he was like, "Oh, we need to finish your teaching or your training," and I'm like, why does Ahsoka need training? She's like the most experienced. She's not even really a Jedi, but she's like the most experienced
She didn't
Force
complete her
wielder
training.
there's been.
She didn't complete
And
her
also,
training.
like,
You didn't complete her training.
I thought Anakin's thing was dumb anyways, because he was like kind of tricking her the whole time, the whole process of it. But all right, get into your thing now.
Who wants to go
Dagobah.
first?
So I
You
wanna-
Dagobah's
I
gonna
wanna-
talk first.
I want to echo one piece
Dagobah
here
Dagobah's
first,
good.
in which you said that you really like bad guys and whatnot. I loved the use of flashes of Anakin flashing to Vader
Oh,
in this so
phenomenal!
much.
That
There
was
was
that
one-
was amazing.
There was one moment as well. You pointed it out immediately, AJ. It was the noise that's on Exegol of
It was the Exegol lightning.
of like when he like
Yeah.
bolted in between, and so like you're saying like there like your ears perception 1000 like you were
Well, I
you
know
were
that
ready.
noise.
Like you
Nat
knew
20.
like you prepared.
I took
Um,
my mentats before the
There you
episode.
go.
I forget the other point I wanted to echo off of you, but you guys go ahead. It'll
Why they
come to
didn't?
me.
I didn't think they needed to duel. Yeah.
Oh, so I thought that I also loved everything that they did within the World Between Worlds, because it was a perfect showing of how Ahsoka was experiencing things, and it just showed her memories. And I love how
Yeah.
that's what the focus was, and it was her interpretation of these memories and what those learning experiences were that she should have been learning in that moment, and how Anakin kind of like instructed her, and then also his actions along the way. And I thought that that was like a perfect amount of things, because like there was a lot of heavy rumors out there. There was going to be a lot of like alternate scenes like
Yep.
seen, and I'm glad that it
wasn't
didn't.
there.
I'm glad it didn't go that way, because it didn't need to. It the story was, what are Ahsoka's experiences? What relates most to her? What's important to her for her to know, and what's important for Anakin to teach her and to like re-show her.
And what is important for Anakin
loved
to know
all
too,
of that
because
so
he
much.
learns
Yes.
things too.
Yes,
So
exactly.
and it's like so, and then that kind of goes. We weren't exactly sure whether or not this was going to be like a vision that she was having, or like she was literally in the world between worlds, and this was literally Anakin talking to her. And I'm leaning more towards the literal side of things,
Me too.
specifically because like Anakin is like, where the hell am I? Like if this was all of her memories, then Anakin wouldn't be asking questions; he'd just be there.
Not only
and
that,
there-
I guess it
Jyn
doesn't
and
really
Hera
matter.
can hear what's going on. So
True,
again, there's
true.
something happening, you know.
I love that
Um,
as well, because it was she literally fell into the portal, and like it was probably still open down there, and Jason's like,
I
Here's
think it's
the
more
other.
along the lines of like she's like between life and death, kind of
Yeah.
like in this limbo where I guess you could say the world between worlds is limbo, which now that I'm thinking about it, holy shit, that makes a lot of sense.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Wow.
Filoni
Yeah.
explicitly said that like Ezra got into it to get his crystal and to speak to Yoda. He just didn't know that that's what that was. And so like the world between worlds, I mean, it almost recontextualizes the Dagobah cave to me. Like it's just my headcanon. I don't think this is factual or anything, but like what if that's like, you know, the interpretation of that, you know, back in the day? Like obviously George wasn't thinking about something like that, and that was Filoni's way, like a band-aid of trying to bridge all this stuff together. But like you get out of it what you put into it, and for Ahsoka, her definition of a Jedi is so warped by the Clone Wars, and boy, is that so
Yeah.
evident when you're watching a literal child on a battlefield. Like a cartoon just doesn't do it justice. We needed
literal
this scene
child,
for
you're right.
so much, because like when Anakin first like cuts the floor, and by the way, Hayden strikes throughout the whole thing. I think there's been a lot of criticism of like lightsaber duels, and since the LED blades became a thing, being a little more neutered because they're trying not to like hit as hard and stuff like that. Like I definitely felt that a lot in Kenobi, but here, smacking
just
the
did it.
crap out
It
of
was
it.
good,
And then
yeah.
when he cut the floor, I was like, oh no, because like, you know, plenty of video games where you have a bottomless pit, you know, just triggered me a little bit, but also like, I don't know the rules when you fall into the abyss
Yeah.
of limbo.
Yeah,
No,
what are that's a good
Yeah.
point, and something that was never
Wow.
addressed in Rebels. There's no
Yeah.
railings in the world between worlds.
Yeah,
It's very
Oh,
who
no.
designed this? The Empire?
World Between
Yeah.
Worlds, OSHA's gotta like get in there right now.
Yeah, they're
Worried
disappointed.
about Force ghosts leaning everywhere.
That was one of my favorite parts of Hayden's performance, was not only just like his like acting, like line delivery, but also like his physicality as Anakin again. Because like
Yeah.
obviously
It's
we have
always-
him in the prequels and everything with that, and the little bit in Kenobi, but I feel like this was the most like this is like top of his game. Anakin
Oh, yeah.
Skywalker doing his shit, like movements,
Oh,
choreography, and just it was so
A little
good.
back
And, like,
behind the back spinny.
You guys like all know I'm not
Oh,
an
yeah.
Anakin fangirl like at all, but like this episode, I was just like this did it. This was perfect. Like this was what Anakin
Yes.
like should have been at the top of his game, and I love that.
Hayden did such a good fucking job of
Yeah.
bridging Anakin in the movies and Anakin in the Clone Wars.
He
Matt
did,
That-
yeah.
and it was like-
performance
it was
informed
seamless.
so well.
He did so well. The jokey, quippy, snappy, lighthearted Anakin that we love in the Clone
Confident.
Wars. Confidence, my
Yeah.
God. Just running straight into like the fog of war.
There's
Oh,
none
it
of
was
that fear.
With
Yes.
Rex and the boys.
Brilliant. And you had Rex.
Yeah.
Live action
Oh
Rex.
my
Can
God.
Oh my God.
Oh,
But
Okay.
I mean,
You
like,
gotta be
I seriously
kidding
didn't
me.
expect to see this armor in live action. Like
That was awesome.
Nobody did.
that was a joke.
knew what they were doing.
Okay, I
He
didn't
looked-
actually think it was gonna happen.
He looked so good. His hair, exactly like yours, looked
Made
phenomenal.
me so happy
Did
because do you
so
know how
good.
hard his Revenge of the Sith hair is to get, and like how validating that was. Because like as a kid, all I wanted was to grow my hair out like Revenge of the Sith. I could never get it right. I could never grow it out without it being so curly. It was very
Oh, yeah,
validating. Oh man,
I,
yeah, it was perfect.
It was a
costume
perfect
department.
portrayal.
And everyone nailed
There's
every
some
detail and everything.
Adjustment. There's like two
Shauna,
layers to
you
the neck.
freaking killed it. Like
Yep.
I am
Oh,
I can't
obsessed.
pronounce your last name,
Oh, God.
but you're
She knows what she's
phenomenal, and I
doing.
love you.
There was like the emblem was like embossed. You could like see like there's just like a little bit of embossment to it. It's like, oh my God. And the fabric, like I need to know
Yeah.
what fabrics those are because it looks
Sorry,
so good.
sorry to launch into the costume chat, but
Mm.
so
I put this on for a
Anakin,
reason.
he Anakin shatters the bridge and like the floor, and Ahsoka falls. From the moment that silhouette first appeared, I like knew it was like Clone Wars look, and like that was like the moment I like shot out of my seat, and I'm like in foot away from the TV, and AJ just kind of like side eyed me like, what is this girl doing?
I
Is
didn't
he-
side. I didn't. I said later on. There was no
Later on,
side eyeing.
no.
I said later on. How did you
Look-
know her so fast?
Why did you ask me at the end of the episode? How did I know so fast? You
Well,
definitely noticed I
I
shot out of my
noticed that
seat.
you shot up, but I was
Yeah,
like,
but
how
you
did you
didn't
know
say
so
anything.
fast?
You didn't say anything.
I'm not going to
at
say anything
first.
during the climax
no.
of the episode.
That's why I said you
I
side
did.
eyed.
I was like, whoa my God.
Oh,
Regardless, the
I have
moment,
good peripherals. Mentats. 10 out of 10.
Perception. He's rolling nat 20s all over the place.
the moment, like literally, she is the silhouette. Like it's just like, oh my God, this is the Clone Wars, and I just gotta say, I love Ariana Greenblatt so much.
Oh,
for
she did
this.
so
Like,
well.
She
did
killed
so
it
well.
as not just one version of young Ahsoka, but two versions
Yeah,
of young Ahsoka,
and-
which is so just so
Mm.
important.
That
Um,
look, it looked good. Like
It looked
young
really good.
Ahsoka
Yes.
looked like perfect.
I
Again,
think
Flawless.
it's important, like as well, that like the way they translated her Leku as well looked like the adult live action version as well. Like the top parts are like bent back a little bit more as
Mm.
opposed to the animation version, and so like they still look a little funky, but it's the live action like version of it, and like I like how they made the effort to make that consistency along
Yeah.
the way at least.
Speaking of Lekus, before I forget, because I know I can't really think of anywhere else to put this in. Hera's Leku. Oh my God!
It
Oh,
bounces
like-
a lot.
and
Abby was
flying
noticing
around
like
it.
they're
Yeah,
like
it
made of
does.
latex or something because they're
Yes.
just so floppy.
Woo, just out of there. But getting back to how, dude, Ahsoka. First of all, first time we've ever seen Ahsoka without her headband or something.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
later
was
on.
Well,
Yeah, later
other
on.
than Tales of the
Jump
Jedi.
scare. Whoops.
Huh.
That was like,
She's
Haunting.
cute when
legit,
she's a little
like,
baby
disturbed
with no
me.
headdress, but good
That's true.
lord.
yeah, that was
Takuruda adults are not
unbelievable.
allowed to take a headdress off.
Yeah, keep your headdress on, maybe. I don't know. It's not my choice.
Cover your sins.
But getting back to obviously the siege of, well, not the siege of Mandalore,
Mandalore.
but the
Siege of Ryloth.
Ryloth first.
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
You had you saw the silhouettes of Twi'lek soldiers running into battle alongside the clones, which looked
Leku's bouncing around.
phenomenal.
It wasn't even
Leku's
that
just
tripped me. It was
flopping.
her being like, I screwed up. I'd be like, oh, it's that episode, you know? Like,
yeah,
oh,
and the scene of her like holding the clone's hand,
Yeah.
covering all the clones' faces because you couldn't
Love
get
that.
Tamara Morrison. to come
I did
back,
not.
but whatever.
DH 10 more Morrison,
The
please.
Invisible Man was in there.
The
I love
Invisible
that.
They
Man.
have the 3D models. Don't pretend they don't.
Yeah,
They
that was
do.
pretty
They
interesting. They
they
chose to
definitely
make that choice, but whatever. That choice was made.
He at least
Um,
voiced it.
Oh
It's
yeah.
fine.
And that was so good.
It was.
Hearing Tamir Morrison voice Rex for the
Took
first
me
time
back
ever.
to 2002 or
Was-
to Twin Clones. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was absolutely insane. That is just so cool. I really
Oh.
think they just couldn't figure out how to do Tamir Morrison's hair short and
One-
blonde.
One thing that's
he
I
would have
think
also
is-
had to be really young. So
Yeah.
Well, they could do some.
They could do
because
that.
again,
We
they
did.
have the
True.
3D model of him from 2002, and that plus modern tech.
True.
They could definitely
Yeah,
get away
and
with
it's-
that.
They
They just
did
didn't
Luke.
want to
They
because
could do
they blew
Tamara.
all the budget on Hayden.
Yeah,
But one thing
exactly.
I thought was really notable that honestly stuck out to me when I saw Dial of Destiny, because for all the praise that the team deserves for how they DH'd Harrison Ford, which is honestly like easy mode given how much that man was shot and filmed in his time. At the same time, his voice was so distractingly
He had a
old.
cold.
Oh,
He had a
God.
cold. He had a cold.
Like
He
it
was-
was
he-
old.
he was
It's old
screaming a
indie
lot.
voice. And
He went to a
like,
concert. and now
yeah,
he's
he went
doing
to a
this, and he's like,
concert in East Belgium or wherever, or the
Yeah.
Alps, or no, but like that wasn't the case for Hayden. That wasn't the case for Temura, because Temura sounds older. Like when he played that veteran clone,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
he sounds
yeah.
older as Book of Boba, like this older Boba. They've definitely taken the time to make the voices sound accurate, because I thought Hayden also didn't quite sound right in Kenobi.
Yeah.
A lot of work has been done to like get us back to that time period properly.
because like this was the moment to get it completely right, and they did.
Yeah.
and they nailed
Like,
it. They
man,
nailed
I
really
can't
did.
believe we saw Rex.
I
I'm not
can't either.
Honestly, like the first like glimpse of him, I started like laughing a little bit because of just how he was standing there, just standing.
I know. He was just kind of standing in the background.
Looking
And I'm
around.
just like,
He had
"Oh."
Batman 89 face.
He did.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there he is. But it was fantastic to see him, and I'm so glad we did get to see him. And we saw both versions of his
Yeah.
armor, both versions of the other clone armor, and we get the 332nd armor as well.
We saw
Yeah,
freaking
dude.
Siege of Mandalore,
Siege of-
Maul
I'm
Mandos.
getting
God.
sweaty.
I want to talk about those guys. They looked like they were animated almost. Like it looked
They
like
did.
the man.
The dimensions
What do we call
were
them?
huge.
What are
The
they called?
Mandalorians.
The Maldalor. What is the proper name for them?
Mandalorians.
They're
The
just
Saxons?
Mauls.
Are they Saxons?
Mandalorians.
Bad guys. So
The bad guy.
bad
Saxons,
horn
yeah,
guys.
sure.
They looked like they were. It looked like I was watching Clone Wars and like they were animated, but in a good way. Like
Yeah.
it was really well done.
Yeah.
Also, the interpretation of Ahsoka's a Siege of Mandalore outfit, like I've seen
So
so
good.
many different interpretations of it, and God, that just knocks it out of the park. Like
Yeah.
the
That's-
leathers for the sides.
That's such a difficult costume.
Yeah.
For so many reasons, and like it looked like perfectly translated somehow. I'm pretty sure they dropped a couple like layers of the armor in order to get it that way, but like it looked really good. Like,
They did it.
man.
Can I
And of
talk about
course-
something I really liked about this episode?
Sure.
Sure.
For it.
Loved, actually, not liked, loved. The fact that Jason played such a big role. Because you guys know,
Yes.
we all
Yeah.
know I love Hera, but Jason, the spawn of Hera, and Kanan, who they mentioned,
Oh, I love
Finally!
finally, god damn it.
God!
I love Jason. Like he's I have stock in Jason Cinderella. Like
Pretty sure he does.
I've been hoping for Ben Solo to show up in like some things in the future, but Jason's right there. Like I love Jason Cinderella. I think the kid
was,
playing him's awesome. But yeah.
I was worried
Yeah.
he was going to be like the Wesley of this era of Star Wars, and that he was just going to be this really annoying brat that I was going to have to deal with.
Shut up, Wesley.
But he honestly has really like that one moment just like won me over completely because we just didn't have enough time with him up until that point. Like between like his cute little shoulder pauldron with Kanan's like little signature on there, and just like the way he was like just trying to get his mom, who should know better, to hear the lightsabers. Like
I know.
like you fell in love with a Jedi. Be more open.
Right, exactly.
It's such a good like the way that it's all portrayed. Like Jason is such a good little kid because like
So good.
and like actually like respectful as well, and like will like talk about when it's needed, like talk about. But he also like listens like so easily. Like Hera like tells him like to hide, and like he hides behind Chopper. Like
That
'cause
was
he
so
like he
cute.
just knows. He asks like for permission to like walk around and whatnot because like he knows. But then like when it's actually like important, like he like makes it known again that like, hey, this is really important, like you need to listen. And like I love the relationship between him and Hera because like she's also just such a good mom. Like she is trying to do like what she's trying to do, like general wise, but then she's also just like, okay, this is serious. Because the moment like he's just like, I feel this way, Hera's just like, ah shit, he's a Jedi. And then she's just like, I have to deal with this and like hear him out. And like she doesn't know what to do, obviously, but she's like, okay, I'll try and like I'll help you. And that's really important that he has the support, at least like a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I just talk about Hera's big radio. Big radio.
Oh, that thing was
the-
huge.
Giant ass radio. Could not.
It's like an 80s cell phone.
It was like this big. Like she couldn't even hold it.
No, you're right. It was like 2 80s cell phones glued together.
Yeah, right. It was like it distracted me the whole time. Couldn't stop thinking about it because
They need to
There's
sell
one
those
thing-
at Batu now. Yeah.
Well,
You
honestly,
gotta
like when I
life
made my
size.
when I made the Bad Batch prequels era data pad for the Star Cruiser journey, oh my god, there is nothing bulkier I've ever dealt with in my life than that friggin' thing bouncing off my hip. Even though I had it like with like a little leather strap, I was like, how do people in Star Wars live with the least compact technology I've ever seen in my goddamn life?
I know.
With great difficulty.
Yeah,
It's the 70s,
Oh
man.
my
They
God.
just couldn't think of anything smaller than your hand. Smaller than your I don't even know. torso.
smaller than your chest, apparently.
Yeah, it's friggin' ridiculous. But going back to what you said earlier, AJ, about why did they need to fight?
I know why they needed to fight, but like, so she could throw down the saber against him. But I wish they could have done it a different way. But go ahead.
Well, that's part
Take
of
the floor.
training. That's how you visualize a Jedi's training. As much as I hate to kind of say that,
I got
except
this.
for like Luke
When you're
in
ready.
Book of Boba Fett,
Yeah.
sitting under the tree. I love that scene as well. I love that.
Love connecting
But
with the
that's
comic
only because Grogu can't have like a little baby lightsaber and can't like baby duel Luke in the bamboo forest. That's just how it is.
It's like trying to fight a toddler on the birthday party. It's like, oh, we're just gonna smack him around a little bit. Honestly, I didn't think I'd be able to do this twice in a row, but here we go. So that whole fight, honestly, I think is a classic Star Wars story just being told again, wherein a Jedi is not meant to fight. A Jedi is meant to defend. And Anakin's words are live or die. And
right.
and then he ignites his lightsaber and gets at her. And like that is sending a certain message, but it's not what actually is the resolution, because as we see, Ahsoka resolves it by not striking him down and by it deignite. Like she thinks about it for a second, just a little, Luke would be there like, so she gets to just think about it for a second and it's fine. But
He thought about it too.
Yeah, I know, right? No, but like then she deignites it and it's done. It reminded me of when I was a kid playing Mysteries of the Sith. And there's a part in the game's story where Kyle Katarn gets he's going to Droman Kos, which is an excellent, amazing Sith planet that is just got so much legends continuity to it that is just really fascinating history. Anyway, he gets trapped there. He gets corrupted by the dark side, and as Mara Jade, you have to go and rescue him. And in the last boss battle against him, you fight him, but the whole point of it is that you actually have to deignite your blade after a certain point and give up, because that's what a Jedi would do. And then Kyle can't actually strike you down, and that's how he's able to finally break free of the dark side.
Wow,
and I
brilliant.
couldn't help but think of that in this moment, because it's like the same thing. It's like he doesn't actually want you to kill him. He just wants you to, defend yourself, survive, and prove yourself. Like like there's so much more to it too. Like by showing her these Clone Wars scenes, like she was born into battle, but that's not the way a Jedi is really supposed to be.
Right, and that's the lesson she needs to learn.
She doesn't have to be ashamed of being a Jedi because what she thinks of a Jedi is totally warped.
Right, exactly. And it's like, and first of all, you know, deigniting your lightsaber and throwing it down in the face of Anakin Skywalker,
like Luke
Skywalker.
Like, man, I'm just sick of this shit.
And I was like,
I'm just sick of this shit.
That is true.
God, dude. And again, it's the same thing. Anakin was evil,
right.
and then kind of like simmers down.
I think
like,
it's the classic Star Wars tale.
I think the root. It is the classic Star Wars tale, but the root of my issue with it, I guess, is like goes back to what we were saying. I don't know if it was the last episode or this or episode 5, but like it feels like, and she was in a way, it feels like Ahsoka was kind of retconned in her own story. Like we see, and we've talked about this, Matt. Like we see Ahsoka the White, as we call her, at the end of Rebels, and that should have been the beginning of Ahsoka when she goes off with Sabine. So that was kind of changed, unless somehow that happens again. But we see Ahsoka the White.
That.
What?
They've explained that at least a little bit, because like think about it in the context of Rebels when it ended. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I just like
no, it's okay.
Like, when you think of Rebels when it at the very end, like we had no idea anything else was ever going to happen with that storyline, and like any rumors of it were always like, yeah, right, okay. So like that finale scene, that epilogue is just like that was Dave just firing off with like, hey, these are the kind of things that I want to imply could happen, just in case I never get to touch this ever again. Because this is
so why not have that scene still exist, and then you could still have this moment we get here before they go off. I mean, they could have written the story different. He could have written the story differently to have that still intact.
I think
it still works like this. It's just
If
and
Dave
the other thing
sees
is
an
like
opportunity to do something different, he usually just takes it. That's
Dave
just how it
Filoni
is.
obviously has a better understanding of Ahsoka than I do, because being the creator of her. But like, I didn't get that vibe. Like the vibe of her having to get to this moment to have to throw the saber down. I thought she'd already known to do that. When she's in the World Between Worlds with Ezra, Ahsoka's very wise at that point and grown up, and she's like, hey, you can't reach in and grab. You can't change that. Like Kanan made his sacrifice. She's understanding the sacrifice already by seeing that Kanan did it. I guess, but I guess each Jedi has to have their own sacrifice moment, and she hadn't had that.
They have to have their letting go moment.
She had a letting go moment in Malachor in Rebels.
No,
she was like, she pushed everyone away. She knew she was going to die with Vader, or
that was her holding on.
That was her. That was her declaring herself
and,
not a Jedi and getting
she sacrificed
revenge
herself.
For Anakin. But it's
yeah,
not,
I guess
that's the thing. It
was still a sacrifice, though.
But it's not the right context. You can't just say, oh, don't come in. I'm gonna butcher this guy that I hate, but I'm self-sacrificing.
Well, I thought it was more so.
I'm totally
like,
doing this for you guys.
I'm totally doing this for you guys.
I thought it was more so. I'm gonna hold this guy off while you guys get away.
I think that one thing.
It's her guilt. This time. She can't leave him.
So I think
that's what she needs to let go of. That's the lesson she needed to learn. Anakin is a representation of the way she sees the Jedi. These flawed warrior, individual, violent people that she's trying not to follow in the footsteps of. And that's hindered her this entire series.
So, I think my issue lies with the fact we see so much Ahsoka. Like Luke, all people that have these moments before, we see a little of them, then they get their moment like that. Except, Luke does it like a few times. He does it in Last Jedi as well. But Ahsoka, we've seen so much of her in like every series, and now she has her own series, and she's finally doing it in her series. So I think I thought she had already reached that point that she didn't need to throw the saber. Like I thought she knew. I thought she had already grown into Ahsoka the White.
As you said, Luke can have multiple moments. Maybe Ahsoka can have multiple moments.
Yeah, so something that happened in between the time of Rebels and what we have in the Ahsoka series is Ahsoka experiences some failure training Sabine.
True.
And we don't,
she walks away
don't know how much of an impact that had on her. Like we don't know. We don't know the full depth of what that failure was. And so it might have set her back like a lot.
And she's just scarred from the Jedi themselves. She's scarred from her failed training of Sabine, and she's scarred from her failed training with Anakin.
Yeah, so we don't know like what her decisions were of like, okay, maybe this isn't what I was meant to be doing, and maybe I just need to do a whole new approach. And so who knows?
I think I also get triggered by a female Jedi being told that they need to finish their training also. So
Hey, that's everybody.
because yeah,
Everybody has to do
Everybody?
that. Even Luke was told he needed to finish his training only when he could kill or not kill, but confront Vader. Then he becomes a Jedi.
Which is like Yoda.
That's
What the
just
hell,
like a
man?
classic trope. Yeah, Yoda's just like I'm gonna die,
Listen,
but you
I
can
need you to
go
kill
do
this
that,
guy.
and you'll totally be a Jedi after you're done. So I'm gonna peace out.
I have a big
Where
question.
does it say that in the ancient Jedi texts?
Yeah.
So, and I saw our friend Corey talking about this a little bit, but what the hell happens after Malachor when we see Ahsoka walking? Like what?
We don't know.
I don't know. She might be
What is
trapped
knows?
there, or
We
I don't
do
know.
What?
Ah,
When it was rumored
it
the
up.
World Between Worlds was going to be in this show, coming into this episode, we knew that was kind of out the window. But like, I always thought the World Between Worlds was going to they were going to show her after she saw Ezra. Because the last time we saw her was her leaving Ezra. Hey, I have to go back to my time, whatever she says.
Now, don't you feel silly?
So, but like, what happened there? How did she get back, and where has she been? And those are
We
my
don't
big
know.
questions.
These are
Found a
questions that were.
ship.
Yeah, she
Why-
found Hu Yang somehow. These are questions
She found a
that
TIE fighter on
we're
the
still
old
gonna
Death Star.
have.
Yeah, without a
and
hyperdrive.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
love
know.
bringing that up with Jack.
I just don't know.
I will take that bait every time.
It's
But
fun.
So what else happened in
know,
this episode?
well,
that we
yeah,
wanna
we've
talk
kind of
about?
reached the end, and
Whales.
I'm kind of getting kicked out
The
here.
whales.
Yeah,
The
we got
whales.
6 minutes.
So yeah, I've got 5 minutes here.
Wrap it up in 5.
So,
so one
what
thing
you
I thought
got?
was neat was that the X-wings could not actually scan for Ahsoka until she actually came back from the World Between Worlds, and like that transition point where the water soaked up around her, and then like suddenly
Oh, that
she's
was
just
nice.
underwater. It's like, oh, hey, there she is.
I love that. I love the little exchange between Jason and Chopper as well, of just Chopper just saying, "Hey, there's something down here," and Jason's like relaying the message, and you just hear him like wop 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 in the background, and Jason's like, I thought that was adorable.
So
and the whole moment between Jason and Ahsoka, the white, we're talking
Yes.
about Ahsoka
yeah,
the white
that was
now.
awesome.
Love
that
Ahsoka
was
the
beautiful.
White.
Just absolutely beautiful. I love Ahsoka's new characterization now that she is Ahsoka the White.
She
Gandalf-y
feels like
in that
Snips.
way as well. Like I know the whole thing is like she wore gray and she wore white, so she's Gandalf the Gray, Gandalf the White. But she literally is very Gandalf-y. Like Gandalf dies and then comes back and he's like, I don't give a fuck anymore. This is awesome. And then he's like just super like mellow and happy and kind of like
Not
just
as many
like
fireworks. though.
Except with Pippin.
yeah, except
Still
for
hates him.
except for him. Still hates him. But
I love the new outlook for Ahsoka as well, because it
Yeah.
feels like Ahsoka finally.
and that's
it feels like old
before,
Ahsoka. Yeah.
when Ahsoka was like, you have to destroy the
Young
map.
Ahsoka.
We're screwed. We're done. We're almost dead. You
I-
know. Like woe's me. We're failing. Now she's
Oh
like,
bother.
I think-
I'm just gonna ask the whales.
I think all
And it
that happened
works.
because post Ezra and all that, like she didn't have time to process what had just happened, because from her perspective, she was literally about to sacrifice herself fighting Vader. Then she gets yoinked out of there into the World Between Worlds, like walks around with Ezra for 5 minutes, gets chased by fire, and then has to jump into that portal again into the wreckage of the Sith Temple. So like we didn't see her actually grieve over that traumatic moment. And I think that makes a lot of sense to her as to like why she then became hesitant. And then as soon as she experienced failure with Sabine, had no chance of being able to help with Grogu and stuff like that. And like made her the
That's
cynical, deeply sad person that she has been since then. And only just now, after a near death experience and getting to talk to her mentor again, can be herself once more and let go of all that hang up she had about her failure with her master that got brought up by that fight with Vader.
And it's so that's such a perfect way to describe it. And it's so perfect the way our villains use technology to get to the other galaxy, and our heroes use nature. It's the
So
nature versus
Tolkien.
technology theme. It's
So
very Star
Tolkien.
Wars.
We're
We've
right
had
back
that
in it.
for since A New Hope, for crying out loud. The Force represents nature. Technology is the Empire. We have that everywhere. Filoni this guy knows Star Wars. He might know a little bit about Star Wars. That's all I'm saying.
He's a pretty big fan.
And then Ahsoka pulls a Pinocchio or a Noah, if you
Or
will,
Finding Nemo.
or Finding Nemo, and gets swallowed by a whale, or at least rides in his mouth for a little while.
Literally the whole time when Ahsoka was standing on top of the ship communing with the whale, just like, why won't you go?
Oh, that's good.
Dude,
Someone needs to make that. They probably have.
They
they
probably
have
will.
to.
But why did they have to go in the whale's mouth?
That's a
Because
really
that
good
was-
question.
Well, I mean, they're
Because
not.
how would you, if you land on the back of the Purrgil, it's gonna maybe bump you off as it's like doing its little undulation.
Oh, guys.
Yeah, but
I-
like they
I-
grabbed it for
I got
at the
bad
end of
news.
Rebels.
We're
but-
getting back into the whole jostling while
with the
entering into
tentacles?
hyperspace thing.
They probably
Uh-oh.
could have
I
just
don't know.
tentacled them.
We came full circle.
Oh, that's a poorly phrased,
Anyway.
out of context.
No.
Sentence. Anyway,
Not that.
yeah. So
good episodes.
Good episode.
Yeah.
Good show.
Good
so
show,
much
good
so much to talk
episode.
about. I feel like I barely even talked about episode 5, but I'm sure we'll get to those topics another time. It was just unbelievable. We've
Did
already
we talk about how the hyperspace ring is like clearly just to like attach to the Star Destroyer? Did that?
Yeah.
it
I'm
definitely
pretty
is,
sure I said that
definitely.
already in the like something like
Okay.
that in the
Early
beginning,
on,
but
maybe
I-
like
yeah,
episode 1
yeah,
or 2.
that's becoming
There's
a
gonna
lot
be
more,
seats on the way
lot
back.
more clear. Yeah, because the problem isn't power or fuel; it's calculations.
There you go.
Yeah. there you go.
Right. So this has been our recap for episodes 4 and 5 of Ahsoka, being released much later than when it actually came out, due to waiting for the strikes to be over, and the studios and actors and writers have since made a fair deal at this point in time when the episode's out. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to the HoloNet Marauders podcast. If you've been watching in the video version, we have an audio version as well. And if you've been listening in an audio version, we have a video version on YouTube as well. You can catch us everywhere on social media at HoloNet Marauders. We'll see you next time.
Whales.